Hey, it's Elmer, and I actually have a little question actually. So when you're playing Dark Souls 1, are you actually possible to defeat the Taurus demon with one hit? Well, we're about to find out, but obviously there's some rules. Obviously we can only hit with one shot, and we're not allowed to level up or anything like that. So we're going to have to start with our class, is our primary thing. We're going to pick Warrior because of the split stat between Strength and Dex, 13-13, and we're going to pick the Master Key, primarily for the reasons of picking up items as well as other loot around the map. So as we start, it's going to be a very normal, simple gameplay. There's not going to be too much of a change in the tutorial sense, as it's very linear. But where it does start to change is a bit later on in the gameplay after the tutorial, so I hope it stays. Obviously, I know it's a tutorial, so it's going to be a bit long and dull, but it's still important because of the items we're going to be having to pick up. So the primary items we're going to be picking up is still obviously going to be the shield as well as the sword we get here. But we also need to start thinking about the primary weapon we're going to be using, as well as a tactic we're going to have to be used to defeat the Taurus demon. Well, we're going to find out our actual strategy from this fight. So obviously in the first encounter we can't really do anything since we didn't pick the black fire bombs. But on the second encounter is where we actually get our strategy. As if you know, the actual damage ratio between fall damage like that, the fall attack, and the actual normal attack is about 4 times. So if we get a weapon that does about 400 damage, we'll easily be able to kill the Taurus demon. Or what we could also do is get a weapon that does 200 damage plus 4, which is going to be 800, and we'll use a few sneaky tricks to actually get the rest of the damage up without actually going to high level areas. Get the Estus Flask from Oscar as per normal, as well as the Undead Key. But this is where we can see the actual damage implemented into the tactic we're going to be using in just a second. So obviously the first boss is quite simple, very easy to maneuver around, so it shouldn't be too much of a struggle. So we're going to leave in a lot of the details, so if you guys actually want to try it yourself, it's going to be there for you. But I think it's a quite simple actual one to do. It's not hard, it's not simple though. But there is many things you can do though. So what you're going to have to do is press forward and then press the basic attack button and do a falling attack. So that plunge attack, as you can see, does about 4 times the actual damage we normally would do. So that is going to be the key reason we're going to be able to win this challenge. It's very long and very dull, I will not lie, getting the actual equipment, but we'll cross that hurdle when we get to it. As you can see, it is about 4 times the actual damage we'll be using. So, we've just killed the Asylum Demon, and let's carry on to the rest of the challenge. So, what do we need? Very simply, souls. Not to level up though, is to buy Titanite. Why do we need Titanite? To level up our weapons, and we're going to be needing it just to buy the weapon itself. If you have any ideas what it could be, put in the comment section below and see if you're right. No cheating obviously, but as we get to Firelink Shrine, that is when all the items are going to be needed to be picked up. As we actually get into it itself, we're going to speed up the process, but it'll still be followable. So what we need to do is obviously pick up the Humanity, which we'll be needing actually for picking up a few items later on, because obviously if you didn't know, Humanity actually increases your passive drop rate, as well as other things. We'll also, in a second, be picking up the few items down the elevator lift shaft. Why do you ask? Well, we'll be needing the Herwood Bow for a few occasions, as it's a very powerful item to get us to a safe place without dying. So, there's a few other items in the graveyard, but for the prime things we're going to be needing is only going to be the soul items themselves, as there's no much point of actually grabbing anything else except them. So, and why do you ask that all the soul items are here? Well, it's a graveyard, so it's fucking when people are dead. But we make a mistake by accidentally picking up that shield, but that's fine. There's 2 or 3 soul items here. We do not die here. I do not know what you're on about. But if we go back, we'll be going back to pick up all our stuff. So, what is the importance of this actual route? Well, obviously it's just to get all the starting items, such as soul items and black fire bombs if we need them later on. Especially for a fight we might need them, but other than that, it's just getting the powerful items so we can actually evolve our character into a being beyond what we'll be able to normally do. If you've ever done an SL1, you can actually kind of do that kind of tactic here, but obviously without getting the blacksmith hammer. But realistically, we will be carrying on and going down to the Valley of the Drakes. So, why do we need to go to the Valley of the Drakes? Well, there's a few ideas actually. So if you know anything about the Valley of the Drakes, you'll know there's actually a very important ring there. And why do we need that ring? Well, it actually gives you a 20% buff when you're actually below 20%. So we'll be doing 800 damage as well as put 20% on that, which would put us around 1000 damage-ish. Or a bit higher, depending on how, if I got the maths correct. But I might be wrong, but there's also other items we'll be picking up later on, which actually makes our damage quite a lot higher. So we picked up that soul item there, that actually stops the dragon from waking up. I did die, that's why there was a jump cut. There's a few cuts around here, so like just in the thing in this video, and that will be where I died, or where there is just a gap where there's nothing. But realistically, we'll be carrying on and trying to get the red tier stone ring. Red tier stone ring is going to be our bread and butter for this actual challenge. As I said earlier, it will actually increase our damage by a considerable amount. To actually get across this bridge, you're going to be needing to use very slimy tactics to actually get across. It's not hard as to say, it's just a pain in the ass, because obviously if you don't bait the dragons out and the drakes, you will actually not be able to get through and you'll be killed by the lightning. It's very simple stuff, but it's still very, very dangerous. So after you get the red tier stone ring, what you'll be needing to do is actually homeward bone out, and then just run back and carry on as normal. But it's very simple overall. It's not the world's hardest, not the world's best thing though. So as we did the run back, we're going to be taking the lift up. Well, you'll be asking why, since we can't really use many weapons and there's not much around here. Correction, there is. There is multiple things around here. So obviously we still need souls to level up our weaponry, and there is one key person actually around here. And they give quite a bit of souls as well as a very valuable item. And that item is actually to protect our stamina, as we still will need a bit of stamina regen. And if you know what shield it is, you'll be able to say it aloud, and that is obviously going to be the Grass Crest shield. And it's got many factors, obviously the stamina regen, and it's quite a stable shield compared to quite early game you'll be able to pick up. So we will be just doing a very simple method to actually kill this guy. So you need to hold out your shield, wait for a back, where he can push himself forward, and you want to run around and backstab him off. Obviously you can get the Black Halberd as well as the blue Titanite chunk from him. And it's quite simple, not very dangerous as long as you've got a decent movement skills. So like I say, just keep going around until you can get that backstab to actually throw him off the cliff itself. As we carry on, we'll be collecting every item we are able to get. And when we get to the top, this is where the actual run gets a bit more interesting. Because obviously at the moment it is just running, and we'll be going to Andre. Why do we need Andre? So obviously that's where we can buy some Titanite without farming and spending years upon that. So we will be getting all the Titanite we can, as well as upgrading the weapon. What weapon are we going to be using? Well, there's very few choices with our stats, and we're going to go for a greatsword as that can do the most damage. And the weapon we have gone for is actually the Bastard Sword. Well, it's the better sword we can use, it's also a decent weapon, so why are we going to be doing all of this? Well, we have everything we can, and we might as well just pop every soul item we can, and we will level our weaponry up. It's very simple, it's very calm, but we'll be using every single soul item just so we can actually use all the weapons and everything like that. But what damage do you think we'll be getting? I reckon it will be about 200-ish on the actual weapon itself. That is at least either plus 10 or plus 5, so we need to actually watch out for that. So as you can see, we've used up all the soul items, so we're going to have to speak to Andre and actually level up our gear now. So we'll get all the Titanite, so it's actually 9 needed, as I had to run back and get some more, but we upgrade our sword to actual max level, so that will be the key factor actually for later, that I remembered we needed 9, but see, there we go, we've got our weapon for max level now, and we are ready for the first boss. So this is where speed up is actually going to be quite key, as it took me a while to actually do this. I died quite a few times because I was being a bit too greedy, but we actually got to the Sunlight Altar / the actual bridge, so you'll need the basement key. The basement key obviously allows you to get to the Capra Demon, and why do we need the Capra Demon? So roughly we will not be able to do enough damage to actually kill the actual fight, the actual Taurus Demon itself. So what we'll be doing is actually killing him, the Capra, and going to the depths to get the large Ember. Why? Because obviously that's the only way to get a plus 10. So we open up the door as normal, and we'll be heading down. So if you head down here, obviously you'll know what to expect. It's a normal Capra Demon fight. But obviously at SL1 it'll be a bit rougher, so we need to be very much more careful. It's very rough around the edges with the actual run, and we actually carry on forward. So what you're able to do here is quite honestly just, you're able to hide if you've seen any of my other videos about hiding and taking out the mare, but you can also just do it like this if you want gun ahead. Obviously everyone has a different playstyle, but obviously we're about to head into the Capra fight, so it's going to be a bit dangerous, and we need to actually conserve all the Estus we can, because if we mess up, we'll have to do that run back again. So let's get into the fight and take it very slowly. So the idea for the Capra fight is actually taking out the dogs first, as per normal. So what you need to do is actually run up to the top, and you're going to have to bash out the dogs. So, or you can fight down here, depending on the weaponry, but normally you'll run up there and go onto the little tunnel path, and you'll be able to do drop attacks, but we're going to fight him head on. It's not much of a challenge, it's mainly just dodging his attacks, and making sure we don't get too greedy. We did get a bit greedy here, as you can see. We are one shot away, very clutch, but we actually did it, and we're about to move on to the depths. So, the depths is the main point. As you can see, we're going to be going down here, and we will be opening every little room, and we're going to be killing all the little hollows. Why? Just because if we rush it, we might lose all our items, as I did earlier, but we still need to be very careful. The depths is very, honestly, it can be a very rough area if you get ganked, so we need to take them out one by one. Even though with a greatsword it shouldn't be too hard. So with the Butcher, it's very tedious just to actually get around them, especially with our low health pool, so we've got to be careful, especially with our low stamina. And I normally write some really good heavy armor, but obviously at this point in the game we can't really use it for medium or light rolls, so we actually get the item itself. We're going to finish off the Butchers and the Hollow, and we'll be getting the large Ember that we needed. So we take our way back up to Firelink Shrine. Why? Because obviously we're going to be needing to go back down. Where? We're going to be going down to Blighttown itself. Blighttown actually has a unique enemy, so for all those who actually haven't explored Blighttown completely, at the bottom of it, which you'll be able to see in a few seconds, we'll be fighting a few creatures which actually drop the Titanite of the variety we're looking for, which is large Titanite, which gives us the weapons of plus 10. So it's very rough and pain, so this is where all the use of humanity is. If you don't have enough humanity, it will take a bit longer as humanity increases drop rates. So I'll be actually going through a normal run without, skipping a lot of it, because it actually took me about 2 to 3 hours to get all the Titanite. I got very unlucky with all the drops. It was a statistic nightmare for me. I fucking hated how long it took, but we actually got there in the end. But the whole thing is here is taking it slow, as obviously we're in a poison swamp. We can't rush and take things too long, but if we take things too short, we can also miss and die and mess up. So it's a very fine balance of taking it in between and knowing what to do. So, but obviously we need to get a bonfire and go human, so we can keep our 10 Estus. So we're going to reverse hollowing and kindle this bonfire. This will allow us to actually make a few more mistakes, as well as heal on our way. We have to kill Man-Eater Mildred to actually get out of the way, and we will pick up her humanity. That is giving us 6, and that is a positive increase on our luck. So in this game, there's very few ways to actually increase luck outside the Golden Covetous Ring, as well as humanity. There's very few items that actually do it, so we're going to be just going off pure humanity. So those are the slugs that we'll be killing. You just have to follow this set path, and this path will actually allow you to get all the slugs in the area, as well as a few items if you didn't know existed, like Poison Mist is actually able to buy from there, as well as quite early on instead of getting it from Ingi. So the whole reason you need to actually take a certain route like this is mainly because it avoids quite a lot of issues, especially with the lava creatures, larvae, because obviously they're very nasty to actually deal with, and if we get knocked off a few times, it will actually destroy how quick we can actually run. So we have, as you've seen, we've already got one large Titanite. That is already a massive bonus. If you find any of the crystal lizards around, you'll be able to kill them, and they will actually give you a chance to get more, and this will actually reduce how long you have to spend down here, hopefully. So, like I say, it was a pain in the ass, just running back here, getting everything, because obviously they have 2 drops, green Titanite as well as large Titanite. That's another one that's always a guaranteed one, so that's 2 for this run, and you'll be able to see, actually, there's a load of slugs, very much a painful process going through here and hoping, because the chance is low. So we just need to be careful, making sure we don't actually take too much damage before we run out of time. Because if we've run out of Estus, we can't really teleport back unless you use a Homer's Bone, which is one of the uses we've got them here for. But we also have them. We still have a bit more to go, so if you know underneath the tree we're near, there is also 3 and 4 more, which will actually give us extra chances to get it. But we still need to make sure we do not overgreed, because if we overgreed, we'll actually make sure we can never get it again. It's a very risky process, if that makes sense. So, it's a very much an issue if you run out of Estus. But we finally did it, we got all of them, and I never want to do getting all this Titanite again, because it's horrible. And here's some of the montage of me grinding them all out. God damn it took me ages. Like, honestly, I'll never do it again. But we're finally back at Andre, and we're leveling up the weapon. We are at the final part of the mission now. So, got our weapon to plus 10, as you'll be able to see. That will increase our damage quite a bit. So now we are doing around about 200 damage. So we'll be going back to Havel, using the master key here. So you're going to have to go through the garden, and when you go back here, back into Undead Burg, we're going to have to go back to the top. Why do I say this? Well, quite simply, we'll be killing one enemy. One enemy to actually get in to the last little buff we need to fight the final boss. So it's a bit of a risky process here, so you'll follow here. Why do we need to go this way? So actually we need to pick up the gold resin. The gold resin is an electrocution damage increase, so we will be able to put electricity on our weapon, which is the final bit of damage increase we will be needing. That is everything we've ever needed for this run, and for all those who wondered, you can actually visit Titanite Lizard here. That will allow us to get more Titanite, just in case. See, we could have used those 2 earlier if we actually went here. But this is the final part of the entire game. It's very rough, very needed. So what we need to do is actually lower our health to 20%. That 20% actually quite matters quite a lot, because if we take one hit over, it's going to be close to death in every other fight. See, now we're in Red Tear Stone Ring range. We're going to have to go down here and pop our Gold Pine Resin. It's very much a risky scenario, because if we take one hit or we mess it up, we'll have to do the entire run again, but with 1 less resin. We only have 3 shots at this before we have to go get other resins, but we should be able to do it. As we run back, we're going to have to take the high ground, as talked about earlier. We're going to be using a plunging attack to actually be able to finish off this boss. So we climb up here, the ladder, and we prep. So this should be about enough damage to actually kill him. As we take our final plunge, we finish him. It took us about 3 hours to actually do this challenge, and it was very hard to make, but we did it in the end. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, it was my first video. Any support would be amazing. Thank you. Bye.